Hello. Hi, I'm Peter. I have a question about the El Bahar Tower. So the sun shading system, it seems like an expensive system to set up with all the mechanical, with like maintenance and construction. I'm just wondering what drove that design instead of something more conventional? Was it for the looks or is it more for the efficiency?
I think it was a mixture of the two, actually. If you remember, the client's brief to us was for an outstanding landmark building. If you remember what was happening in Abu Dhabi at the time, there was a tremendous movement towards sustainability. And so I think we felt it was appropriate that as a sovereign wealth fund, that the client was provided with a building which reflected the aspiration of the emirate. In terms of its complexity, I think each of these Mashrabiyah elements is almost identical. I can't remember exactly how many different dimensional types there are. I think there are perhaps 9 or so. And actually, in terms of complexity, all we're doing is hanging a sheet of PTFE material in front of the building and achieving a significant reduction in solar heat gain. So I think it's both a statement on the one hand, which is what the client was seeking, and on the other hand, it's actually quite an efficient way of reducing what is ultimately a very harsh climate.
Hello, this is Emir Pektemir with Bureau Happold. My question is about the One Bly Street project. With the south-facing open office, what's the help the double? Hello. With the help of the double skip facade, that space could have been naturally ventilated. Was it, or if it wasn't, what was the reason for not being natural ventilation?
I'm not absolutely sure if I get the question right. If it is about the natural ventilation, it is like natural ventilation on the double skin is possible, but it is not used by, for example, Clayton Woods, which are the main tenant in the building, because they said just no. So we ventilate just the double skin to have no overheating, but it's still possible. So, for example, the Prime Minister is supposed to use that as a natural ventilated building for 50% of the year. So that is the reason why I call it potential natural ventilation. Is that the answer to your question?
Okay, I have a question for... Oh, sorry, go ahead.
Just a quick one. On One Bly Street, it appears as if there's a lot of lower buildings in the way of that view to the harbor. What protects that view to the harbor?
The lower buildings are around 25 meters or 30 meters. So they're really low compared to the building. You must imagine that the raise of the ground floor is around 20 meters, 70 to 20 meters. So the whole building is in a way looking toward the harbor. It may be that the first or second level above the atrium has some difficulties to see the harbor, but the rest of the building looks at that. Is that the answer, or is it a question about why can it stay like that forever? Okay, it stays like that forever because some of the buildings are listed. The one in front that I showed to you is a listed building, so it will stay there forever. And the rest of the buildings are in the perimeter zone of the higher buildings. So the perimeter zone is needed forever. So there will be no high-rise in the way.
Hey, my name is Rick. I had a question about the absolute towers and the generation of the form. Apartment buildings tend to be very formulaic, and the stack of the apartments and the plumbing stacks becomes very important to the economic model. And I was curious in the generation of the form, how you resolve the changing apartment layouts and the corresponding plumbing stacks, in exact contrast to the Aqua Tower that's here in Chicago, which is a very standard box with shaped balconies. Your tower form actually changes and every floor changes. And I was wondering how you resolve that, both practically and financially.
The shape has a twisting, and we trying to have a different angle at different level. So this to make sure the curve look very natural, not instead of a very standard curve. So at the beginning, we had a proposal to make a structure also following the shape. Then that make the structure a bit more expensive, too expensive for the residential building to can afford. So in the end, we make everything straight. We have a square concrete core in the middle, and the corridor around, and then we have shear walls, also go straight, and the outer edge of the shear wall is actually curved, following the shape, and then we can, because the degree, the rotation of each floor, we have a kind of rules, and then on each level we can mirror the layout, and then on some level we can repeat the layout, but we still have a lot of different layouts. I remember that the selling book is like very thick. You have so many different layouts. I was wondering how can you sell in such short time, because people just need to look at them. But there's a very complicated layout, and not many units is repeated.
Well, the thing about that is that, you know, obviously you get a certain amount of differentiation in the units, but that's appealing from a design standpoint in a residential high-rise building, because you're now talking about units that are not entirely all the same. They're not repeated that often. So you get this uniqueness, and that commands a premium in the marketplace. That's part of selling great design, is that you live in a unique building, and more or less you get units that are unique. And that's part of the entire package that we delivered in terms of marketing. So that was very appealing to the marketplace, and that was part of the attention, you know, the lure of having something that's exciting and dynamic.
On Kate Money, University of Illinois, Chicago, one question for One Blight. You mentioned that you employed white glass throughout, and this is considered to be a sustainable building. As you know, white glass is significantly more expensive. So how did you go around that?
Ray, was it more expensive? No, it was not more expensive. It is a very, very white glass. The problem is with white glass, I don't know, I'm not an expert in that physical and chemical process, but the problem is if you want a real white glass like diamond or something like that, this is expensive, but there are meanwhile design glasses available. They are nearly white, and that just depends on the quality of the sand, as you might know. And there is sand available in some countries all over the world where it is achievable to do white glass. The building looks like as if there is no glass in the building from outside. It's really, and I appreciate that very much, because I think that all the colored glasses influence the vision of the project and the feeling, the comfort that you have in the building a lot more than we think.
Great. Well, thank you. That concludes this session. Please help me congratulate and thank our speakers today. Thank you.